Welcome to the Gary DeMar blogcast, presented by the American Vision and Canon Press. For more from Gary, check out the American Vision collection on the Canon app.
Welcome to the Gary DeMar blogcast. Today's entry is titled, Muslim Congresswomen Want Muslim American Heritage Month. Representative Ilhan Omar claimed, as we continue to seek an uptick in anti-Muslim hate, it is important we recognize the resiliency and accomplishments of Muslim Americans with a formal resolution. Representatives Omar and Representative Tlaib and other leftists want to designate July as Muslim American Heritage Month. President Obama claimed that Islam has been woven into the fabric of our country since its founding. I have to agree with the former president. America's relationship with Islam goes back to its founding, but it's not what the president or these Muslim representatives want revealed to the American public. Their historical revisionism is worse than the 1619 Project. I propose that we add the following historical information to all public school textbooks. The Barbary Muslim pirates habitually preyed on ships from Christian nations, enslaving Christian seamen in the latter part of the 18th century. Barbary was Christendom's Gulag archipelago. There's a reason why the Marines hymn includes the following: from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Thomas Jefferson, embroiled in a war with Islamic terrorists in his day, commented, "Too long for the honor of nations have those barbarians been permitted to trample on the sacred faith of treaties, on the rights and laws of human nature." Little has changed since the 18th century. In Joseph Whelan's well-researched book on America's first war on terror with Islam, we learned that, quote, Jefferson's war pitted a modern republic with a free trade, entrepreneurial creed against a medieval autocracy whose creed was piracy and terror. It matched an ostensibly Christian nation against an avowed Islamic one that professed to despise Christians, close quote. Dumas Malone, Jefferson's biographer, writes, treaties had been made with these petty piratical powers in the past, all of them calling for what amounted to tribute. The United States was acting like the other nations with commerce to protect, but Jefferson had opposed this sort of policy from the time he was in France, believing that the only effective language to employ against these brigands of the sea was that of force. He never believed in buying peace with them. And actually, he was the first president to use force against them, close quote. Paul Johnson writes, Quranic teaching that the faith or submission can be, and in suitable circumstances must be, imposed by force has never been ignored. On the contrary, the history of Islam from Arabia was followed by the rapid conquest of North Africa, the invasion and virtual conquest of Spain, and a thrust into France that carried the crescent to the gates of Paris. It took half a millennium or reconquest to expel the Muslims from Western Europe. The Crusades, far from being an outrageous prototype of Western imperialism, as is taught in most of our schools, were a mere episode in a struggle that has lasted 1,400 years and were one of the few occasions when Christians took the offensive to regain the occupied territories of the Holy Land. As early as 1786, Jefferson, who was serving as the ambassador to France, and John Adams, the ambassador to Britain, met in London with an ambassador of Tripoli to negotiate a peace treaty based on Congress's vote of funding. Peace would come at a price, however. If America wanted temporary peace, a one-year guarantee, it would cost $66,000 plus a 10% commission. Now, $66,000 in 18th century money. Everlasting peace was a bargain at $160,000 plus the obligatory commission. This only applied to Tripoli. Other Muslim strongholds would also have to be paid. The amount came to $1.3 million. In vain, Jefferson and Adams tried to argue that the United States were not at war with Tripoli. In what way had the U.S. provoked the Muslims, they asked? The ambassador went on to explain the finer points of Islamic jihad to Jefferson and Adams. In a letter to John Jay, Jefferson wrote the following: The ambassador answered us that it was founded on the laws of their prophet, that it was written in the Quran that all nations who should not have acknowledged their authority were sinners, and it was their right and duty to make war upon them wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Muslim who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise, close quote. The ambassador's paraphrasing the Quran's rules of engagement is found in 47 Shura. Whenever you encounter the ones who disbelieve during wartime, seize them by their necks until once you have subdued them. Then tie them up as prisoners, either in order to release them later on or also to ask for ransom until war lays down their weapons. A non-aggressing nation is still at war with Islam if it hasn't embraced Islam. Islam's goal is to conquer the world, either by the submission of one's will or by Allah's sword. When President Jefferson refused to increase the tribute demanded by the Islamists, Tripoli declared war on the United States. The United States Navy Squadron, under command of Edward Preble, blockaded Tripoli from 1803 to 1805. After rebel soldiers from Tripoli, led by United States Marines, captured the city of Derna, the Pasha of Tripoli signed a treaty promising to exact no more tribute. This shows Islam's interconnectivity with the United States is one of violence and threat of submission via the sword. Islamists are in it for the win. Responding to France's ban on the Islamic veil, for example, in 2004, the then new head of the Muslim Brotherhood asserted Islam ultimately will triumph over the United States and Europe. I have complete faith that Islam will invade Europe and America because Islam has logic and a mission, said Muhammad Mahdi Othman. Representatives Omar and Tlaib want a weakened America to make it easier for Islam to conquer the West.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, listen to the audiobook for Gary DeMar's Restoring the Foundation of Civilization, available now in the Canon app.